Hi everyone, it's Matt. I'm coming to you live, as it were, from Kamloops, British Columbia. As I mentioned a number of times since the beginning of the course, the move that was going to happen has happened. So I'm in my nice new townhouse here in Kamloops, BC. And you will have noticed, hopefully people have been checking in online. I have slowly started to get back into the flow at this point. So everybody who sent me an assignment for assignment 1 would have received that back now. If for whatever reason you sent me something and you didn't get it back, please be sure to let me know. And again, I guess just in terms of what I saw, pretty much as I expected. I saw some very strong creative submissions. People, I think, are taking the intention of this course to heart, which is really great. And again, you're going to see me sort of glimpsing down on my notes so I don't forget anything. Thank you again very much for your patience. About half of you did have to wait something like 7 or 8 days to get the assignments back. Usually I prefer to return them sooner than that, but again, you you appreciate the concern. You appreciate you know, what I was up to. So anyway, in terms of feedback, again, very creative submissions, very thoughtful submissions, as I would expect. In terms of you know, just feedback points that cropped up, generally speaking, a few APA concerns, not that many, more to do with headings than anything. So in terms of like your rationale documents, in terms of like describing what your IMs were meant to accomplish or critiquing them or whatever, first of all, some of you didn't have headings in your document. I have to say that headings are very helpful for me when I'm scanning through a document to try and get from beginning to end. You know, it helps sort of catch everything on the first review as much as possible. And as much as we're following APA in this course, just look at the OWL Purdue website for what those headings are supposed to look like. You know, first level centered, bold, and then left justified of various kinds for second and third level. I'd be very surprised if anybody for these assignments needed anything beyond a third level heading anyway. So there it is. Now, oh yes, and citations. Again, I've taught APA, but I got busted like a lot when I was doing my graduate studies on improperly using APA. So what's in the OWL is what I generally go with. Again, just citations and reference formats. Do your best to follow that, and all will be well. And I guess just as far as it goes, again, I've been seeing some really strong use of the principles that we've been talking about in our course to speak to people's critiques, particularly, as well as design and redesign choices. You know, obviously, Dr. Rose's work has been very helpful in our course, but if you look at the MEd evaluation scheme, the A+ designation requires reaching beyond the course resources. So if, and I made those comments to a lot of people, that it would be good for you to reach out beyond simply, you know, Ellen Rose's text and actually try and get into some journals, peer-reviewed journals, books, chapters, professional literature, provincial curricular documents in some cases, and draw those in. I think that that would add a real layer of richness to your work, which would sort of, you know, justify considering an A+ grade on your assignments. Not that, you know, evaluation is everything, but anyway, just challenge yourselves. Go into the online catalog through the library and try and pull some relevant readings that have to do with your topic, and they can really add something. It can enliven the discussion. So I guess probably that's all I want to say as far as the assignments. Assignment number 2 is actually coming up fairly soon. I'll speak to that in just a little bit. Now, in terms of this topic, in terms of this week's topic, we are working on words. So we've sort of broken through the halfway point of the course. We've sort of hit some of the theoretical perspectives that Dr. Rose has sort of put forward in her text. And now we're getting into really, you know, what instructional messages do tend to consist of, which is words, images, and increasingly the combination of those vis-a-vis multimedia. So that's sort of where we're going for the second half of the course. So this week's topic, words, it's broken out into sort of three sub-topics, three sub-areas, if you will. Content, typography, and layout, as per our text. And I guess, you know, again, Dr. Rose has done a really fantastic job of distilling a lot of current and historical research and practice on those topics and making it accessible through the text. So I wouldn't really want to paraphrase, summarize, or you know, touch particularly even what she's already got there, because it's really strong the way it is. What I would say is that as an English major originally in my undergrad, and as somebody who taught writing for 6 or 7 years at a college level, I have to say that the content aspect of this is kind of near and dear to my heart. And it's one of those things where, I mean, the other aspects of it, you know, use of typography and layout, but I think content, the message itself for instructional messages, the more you practice with it, the better you're going to get. So really with this course, we're trying to think intentionally about what we say, rather than just sort of thinking, okay, what's the first thing I can say? Rather, we want to think of what's the best thing I can say? What's the most helpful thing for my learners in a given situation? And definitely this learner-centered thought is something that we've seen crop up in our discussions about constructivism, and you know, that has existed as a thought within this course, you know, prior to that discussion, obviously, but I think as we sort of gear forward, as we sort of proceed into the final half, we're going to see that increasingly as something we want to speak to. And when we get to the evaluation of IMs towards the very end of the course in the last few weeks, this is something where it's going to be pretty crucial. Wasn't sure if I was saying crucial or critical. Crucial and critical. So again, thinking now, we've got some experience reflecting and thinking about IMs. Now, how do we sort of step up what we want to convey to students and enhance that vis-a-vis some of these principles, and make that accessible verbally and through you know, words, basically text on computer and or a PowerPoint slide or a computer screen. That's kind of going to lay the basis for where we're going forward vis-a-vis, you know, multimedia and things like that in the next few weeks. First page of notes, second page of notes, words on paper. Yeah, so again, I'm looking forward to our discussions on this week's topic. So as was the case last week or the past couple weeks, there is the option to do a couple of activities in a small group format. Again, if people are interested in doing that, there are discussion areas set up to facilitate that, as well as directions within the you know, week's directions document stating, you know, some things that you can do. If you're interested in pursuing that, then you can post in the discussions area looking for people, or you can email me. But otherwise, I think what we're going to be up to, you know, and I do encourage you to explore that opportunity to take sort of those enrichment opportunities to do some redesigning and critiquing within a small group format, but being mindful of the fact that people have you know, competing schedules and competing priorities really with what they want to get from this course. I just figure, you know, make that as an optional piece, and then What I would like to see is that people are reviewing the text, reviewing video, reviewing images, reviewing, the various kinds of media files for the week, and then speaking to that in sort of the general large discussion format that we've been doing. And what I would also like to see, sort of transitioning into the final task of the week, which is the assignment number 2, is that people are taking the opportunity to share another draft version and critique another, your colleagues' draft versions of your assignment number 2, or that is to say, an activity. So not all 5 activities, but rather take one activity from the 5, post it, and then critique constructively and thoughtfully, as of course you will, on at least 2 of your colleagues' postings for that. So again, same as what we did last week. I think this is a good way to sort of get people working on assignment 2 so it doesn't jump out at them all at once for the deadline. And as well, I think it's really great that as a community of educators, as people who are all involved in various ways within education as teachers or, other kinds of practitioners, that, the feedback from within the group is at least as valuable as anything that I would suggest summatively, when the assignment gets turned in. So I think providing an opportunity to share those drafts is probably helpful. What else? So the deadline for assignment number 2, February 25th, Sunday at midnight, Atlantic Standard Time. If you need some accommodation with that deadline, please let me know as soon as you can. The more notice, the better. Again, I don't penalize for late assignments particularly, but if I don't get something from you and the deadline is passed and I haven't heard from you, I am going to wonder what's up. So just, get it to me or let me know if you need accommodation. I will be aiming to return the assignments within 3 or 4 days, certainly before Friday of the week. So getting it in on time is conducive to that purpose. And submit via email, same as before, matthew.stranick@unb.ca. Email attachments, preferably, if you can, within one Word document. I didn't take marks off, for files that were submitted, like 6 or 7 attachments. But what I discovered when I was doing my grading is that it seems like it's easier for me just to get things in one attachment for the rationale. And then if you want to have a separate file, so maybe 2 files altogether, a rationale file, and then, your design or your critiques, your instructional messages that you want to refer to, that can appear in a second attachment or in the first document. So preferably 1 or 2 documents. Again, it just makes it easier for me with my current configuration of technology to look at it that way when I'm grading. What else? Still on the note paper here, page number 2. I've deliberately stayed out of the, I am getting caught up on replying to some email or some discussion postings. I've deliberately, I would say, stayed out of the sharing thread for week 6. And the reason for that is because I don't really want to prejudice anybody's works in progress with my instructor-like comments. And again, I think I've mentioned this, that the feedback that you're getting from your colleagues is going to be very helpful anyway. So I would just be adding probably not a whole lot of value by interjecting myself into that discussion. But in terms of the other, discussions, I have been jumping in. I made some posts this morning, earlier in the week, obviously. I'll probably have one more run at it this evening or tomorrow morning. The content for week 7 is obviously, by the time you're watching this, it's going to be available now. And as per some feedback from the survey, the Google form from the other week, the midterm check-in kind of survey. Somebody mentioned that they felt it would be helpful to get the modules kind of all at once and be able to power through it at their own speed. I actually prefer doing it that way as a teacher and as an instructor anyway, so probably, well, not this week, but what I'm aiming to do is for weeks 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12, I'm aiming to release all of that content by the end of this week. So just, doing some redesigning and some designing of instructional messages myself, making that available to you, and you can sort of jump in and start, making your discussion posts earlier if you prefer, doing the learning activities as per your own schedule as much as possible. Sooner is better than later, obviously. And the videos will take a bit of time to catch up. It takes me a certain amount of time to prepare the lecture notes and then to record the videos, but the activities themselves, as well as the discussion areas, will be available for you to start going through at your own speed. So that's whoever anonymously posted that in Google format. I like your idea, and we're going to use it. What else? Last page, only half of the page. The online conference, which I had originally scheduled for this past week, obviously didn't happen. I'm still waiting to figure out exactly what my technology setup is going to involve. I think that next week it's definitely going to happen. Don't quite know which day of the week it will be, or particularly the time. So that isn't very helpful of me to mention that to you right now. But for those who are interested in the online conferencing opportunity, stay tuned. There'll be an announcement posted once I have a little bit more handle on my work and family commitments for next week. It'll be at least an hour. Most likely it'll be through Adobe Connect, and I'll post the day, the time, and the link at least 24 hours in advance in D2L. And yeah, I guess probably that's about it. I don't want this to go overly long, longer than is necessary. Thanks again for your patience these past week and a half. Great work on the assignments. Hopefully the feedback that I provide you on those assignments is considered helpful and will sort of give you something to work with as you prepare your assignments that are due on the 25th on Sunday. So not this Sunday, but next Sunday, the end of week 7. And I look forward to seeing your contributions, your further contributions in the discussions. So I guess that's probably it. Happy weekend, everybody. Take care. Bye for now.